Hello and welcome to FTTR. I am Hugh McQuaid, and today I am talking about a bit of news that has broke in the recent weeks, and that is specifically a quote from Front Office Sports, who say that WWE is implementing a strategy that will let them become the next Marvel. Now, as a comic book fan, I'm trying to wrap my head around how they plan on doing this, because if you look at the MCU is a set of films that all tell one cohesive story. They all sync up with one another, starting back in 2008 with Iron Man. So I don't understand how this sort of strategy could be applied to WWE. They go on to say things like there's a lot of IP, untapped IP, that WWE has under its umbrella, like The Undertaker and Roman Reigns, but I don't understand to what extent this can be exploited for like the mainstream, if that makes sense. So like, what are we going to have, an Undertaker origin story, a Roman Reigns origin story? Because how can that coexist with what we have currently going on the WWE product? That to me is just sort of, if it's in the realm of kayfabe, I don't think fans would buy into it that much. I think having these sort of what could potentially be blockbusters in the vein of like The Marine or something like that, telling backstory of The Undertaker, they've all got to sort of feed into them becoming a professional wrestler. Maybe that's their goal. Maybe they're treating Raw and SmackDown sort of like the Avengers team-ups, and we're going to get the backstory of how they got there, but they all lead to the same place, and we know where the same place is, and that is fighting over championships. So I don't think there's a lot of mileage in that, personally. I don't really see how WWE can extend itself to become the next Marvel. So what next for WWE? There's a lot of stuff going on with WWE at the moment, and lots of, firings and shifting of departments and stuff like that. But I just really want to focus on how they could potentially become the next Marvel. What is their vein of becoming that mainstream? I think there's one key to getting WWE back into the mainstream. I think it's all riding on one particular thing. Well, two. I think two particular things. Two very, very important projects out there that could really propel WWE into the stratosphere, in my opinion. I don't think anything's going to be like WrestleMania or anything like that. I think it's all dependent on the Chris Hemsworth Hulk Hogan biopic, and it's dependent on the Vince McMahon Netflix series. Now, the Hulk Hogan biopic, I'm a little bit skeptical about. I'm not sure who's producing that, if it's a WWE Studios in-house thing, or if it's just completely offshoot. WWE has no involvement. I'm not sure how that's done, but this has to be. The best way to do this is in the vein of Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler. This has to be messed up. It has to sort of look at sort of all the drug use in the 1980s, or maybe even steroid trial. There's a lot of stuff in that biopic that should be explored. And I think Chris Hemsworth's going to do a really good job. I can't wait to see what he actually looks like as Hulk Hogan. I think that's going to be crazy, especially with the hair. And that, for me, is one of the biggest mainstream wrestling projects out there at the moment, because Chris Hemsworth is a massive star, absolutely massive. So to have his name attached to this could bring some eyes onto the product. And the Vince McMahon Netflix show, we've seen how well documentaries can do on Netflix. Netflix is sort of like the go-to for documentaries. You've got The Night Stalker, you've got What Happened at the Cecil Hotel, you've of course got Tiger King. You've got all these documentaries that just sort of blow up, and I think this could be one of them if it is honest. That is the main focus of this documentary. It needs to be honest, and it needs to show what Vince McMahon is actually like. It can't just be a puff piece. Instead, it sort of needs to show the business as a whole, maybe take an approach from Dark Side of the Ring, the best documentary series on professional wrestling out there. and just be truthful. Just have the honest truth about Vince McMahon and his ascension in the wrestling industry. Other than those two projects, I can't see, other than just sort of mainstream media appearances trying to get more wrestlers in films, I can't really see how WWE can become the next Marvel. Maybe they're talking like expansion like Star Wars does, with their expanded universe. Maybe we'll have like WWE comic strips, maybe we'll have more games, maybe we'll have books that all sort of tie into the main product. But at the same time, WWE hasn't given enough depth to its characters to warrant all of that. No one's looking at, Drew McIntyre and going, you know what? I want to read his backstory. I need to know how he grew up. I need to know how he trained. I need to know how any of his, past life affects him now. Because they haven't given any of that. They haven't hinted towards any sort of mythology behind a lot of their wrestlers other than Roman Reigns, The Undertaker. They've barely even given John Cena any sort of backstory, or Brock Lesnar. There's not enough to mine from. Maybe they can introduce something and maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I can't see how that could physically work with WWE becoming the next Marvel. So I'm really intrigued to hear everyone else's thoughts on this and all the stuff that's going on with WWE at the moment. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on WWE being the next Marvel. Do you think it's possible they could have that sort of mainstream success? Let me know down in the comments below and I will try and reply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support and have a nice day.